Guys, this podcast is brand new, hasn't even been a day or even 2 days, but there's something that Andrew Tate mentions in this video that I completely do not agree with as a Christian, and as a Christian yourself as well, especially if you are a Christian, you're watching this, I'm sure you pretty much won't agree. But let's get into it anyways. If you don't know who he is, then, you know, you've obviously been living under a rock or something.
Even at the highest of levels, including institutions and governmental organizations.
This is true.
Andrew Tate's vile misogyny infiltrates our classrooms and society.
But the true Andrew Tate is a man that is largely misunderstood. I wanted to take this opportunity to discover the real Andrew Tate. In December
for those that don't know,
2022, I was scheduled to meet Andrew in Dubai for our second interview. But little did I know that podcast would never happen.
Andrew Tate has been arrested.
On that same day, his house was raided and Andrew and his brother Tristan were sentenced to a Romanian jail on multiple charges.
Crazy.
For the next 3 months, the world watched on as one of the most powerful men on earth was stripped of everything. In March 2023, Andrew and his brother were released under house arrest.
Guys, it won't be a reaction to the whole video itself, but since you guys have requested it, the separate one, the other video that's coming is definitely going to be one that I'm, most likely going to be watching the large chunk of it. So they're doing a private interview in a private location somewhere in Bucharest, and the Christian part is literally coming up now.
The real reason behind his arrest?
I was accused, obviously, of the complete garbage charge of human trafficking.
Everyone's opinions are valid.
Of course, but I don't consider myself qualified.
Yeah, fair enough. But how would you say it's shaped your life?
Islam has changed your life.
You know the best thing about Islam? The best thing about Islam is how simple it is, because there's wrong and right.
Okay.
Nice.
Simple religion.
Same thing.
Wrong and right. I mean, you look at other religions and it's also subjective now.
Yeah.
And that's why I've said many times on different podcasts that it's the last true religion. If you don't have a strong barrier, if you don't have a yes and a no, you don't have a religion. If you tolerate everything, you stand for nothing. And if you believe in God and you say, I believe in God, but I'm not a Muslim, I'm going to say, okay, that's fine. You're a Christian. What is Christianity anymore? What does it mean? You can go to a Christian country, America, let's take, for example, and you'll get in more trouble for insulting George Floyd than you will for insulting Jesus Christ.
Yeah, for sure.
You can walk down the...
And he says, yeah, for sure. Now, this is exactly where I do not agree or completely disagree with them. Why? Because... guys, as Christians, we already know it's either yes or no. It's not even binary. The Bible even says himself, you will not serve two masters, for you will love one and hate the other. You cannot be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, hot and cold at the same time. No. You can't be in the middle. You have to either be with God or against God. True Christians, okay, relationship with God, we are brought to the world to say the truth as it is, to say basically no, this is wrong, we don't tolerate this, no, that's why the Bible's letting us know we will get crucified. I mean, look at what they've done to Jesus, look at what they've done to Christ himself. They finished him. Christ himself, God, they finished him. So how about you and I? We've just got this new age nonsense garbage that's portrayed across the world, we kind of, because, no, guys, wake up. We need to say things how they are. This is wrong. Don't do this. I'm telling you this because I love you. I'm more harsh on you because you're my son or you're my daughter, you're my wife. That's why, because I care for you. I have a degree of responsibility over you. If something was to happen to you, it will be my fault. Why? Because I'm the man and I'm taking care of you. You get the gist. So we need to call black for what it is and white for what it is. Don't say, well, that's blue, but I think it's yellow. That's what the government, the elite, all of this is, they're trying to spread and download into your mind. You see the sky is blue and you say, no, it's yellow, it's pink. Do you understand? This is where I draw the line. And the other thing to add on to this as well, in regards to Christianity, I mentions, Muslims, you couldn't wear a shirt that said, no problem, all of that is true. But if I was God, why would I want to fight or want my children, okay, pay attention, want my kids to fight for me? We're called to be God's children. We are God's children. We're God's creation. Why would a God want his own creation to fight for him? It doesn't even make any sense. As in, I'm so powerless that I need you to fight for me, because this one of the topics that he always brings up. How in Islam they fight for their gods, they do this, or God should we say they fight for their God, they do X, Y, and Z, and Christians they don't defend for their God or fight for their God. It's like, Well, we're called to spread the gospel and bring more people to Christ. We're not called to be savages and start killing people start beating up people because you're wearing. Look, in the Bible it says, "Revenge is for me. Leave the revenge to God." If I had an interview with Andrew Tate right now, this is exactly what I would say to him. And I would love to interview the guy. Phenomenal, tremendous. I'm a big believer in a ton of things that he says. You don't have to agree with everything a guy says, by the way. You don't have to agree with everything that somebody says. But if they're making sense and there's a lot of things that they're saying, you're like, whoa, what the heck? That is true. That is true. That is true. Even these two interviewing themselves right now, they don't agree on everything. And they're both Muslims. So you shouldn't really agree with everything that a guy says. And I'm not saying just start disagreeing with a guy because you just don't want to agree with everything. No. I believe you guys get the gist. But back to the Christ point. Which kind of God wants his children or his people to fight for him? That is not the purpose of God. And it says in the Bible, as I said, revenge is for God. Leave the revenge for me. That's why Christians don't walk around beheading people or, all of these things that is pushed upon in Islam. Okay. I hope this truly makes sense. And I'd love to really have this conversation anyways with like-minded individuals, whether you're Christian, Muslim or whatever it is. I'd love to discuss it with you. Link is in the description down below to join a Christian or faith-based, God-based self-improvement group where we're working on becoming better Christians, better faith believers, whilst obtaining success in the exact same time as well. Okay, guys?
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was like, shout out to George, because one day, you never know, man could be Muslim himself.
Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Christians must feel a deep resentment towards Muslims, especially the true believers, because we stick up for what we believe in, and they want to, but they can't because their own religion has become so woke and almost betrayed them. How can you stand up and say, I'm a Christian and I mean it, and you better, when they have gay preachers? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And your fellow Christians will turn on you and call you a bigot. Your fellow Christians will call you a bigot.
But what's crazy about that is there are gay people who are in Islam as well. Do you understand? We know about the Dubai Porter Party and all of this degeneracy that's going on. And these are all Muslim men. So it's a bit hypocritical to say one side and say, no, because, bro, I know personally a ton of Muslim friends who go clubbing, they smoke weed, they do drugs, they drink alcohol, and they call themselves Muslims. And then whenever it's Ramadan, that's when, Eid Mubarak and so forth. And that's when they take it serious. But then as soon as that's finished, it's like back to the exact same way of living. So that in itself is contradictory. So it's not because we're so super solid and No. We have to call it for what it is. There are a ton of Muslim people who are making Islam look very, very bad, which we'll both agree on. They're making Muslims or Islam look very, very bad. And there are a ton of Christians, fake Christians, just like a Muslim will say, no, they're fake Muslims, fake Christians who are making Christianity look very, 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 very bad. Do you understand? This is the crazy stuff about this.
For saying that a man shouldn't drop his dick off.
I would love to interview him, man. Sick.
True Christian.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
So all the Christians
I stand for
who truly believe, and I've spoken to a lot of them, they are very envious of Islam. And then I'm like, well, then what's the delay? But they feel like an affinity to Christianity because they were raised with Christianity or they're born Christian, and perhaps they see Islam as a Middle Eastern religion, which is kind of interesting because Christianity is a Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
They're from the same place.
Yeah, they all.
What I'm curious about is, don't forget, Andrew Tate used to be an atheist. So you see the different episodes that can take place in a man's life. At one point, you was defending that God doesn't exist, atheistic, this, blah, 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 blah. And now, on the Islam end, and I'm curious how that works out anyways, living with a brother who's, a Christian and then Islam. I'm not saying that I don't condone in fighting or anything, but there should be peace and all of that stuff. But as Christians, as believers of the Bible, we're called to spread the gospel, spread the good news, with the entire world. That's what I'm talking about.
Allah and Muhammad, peace be upon him, and all these things that we don't quite understand. But you can also discuss it right here on earth with what you see. Like I said about preserving the sanctity of a society. So you sit and say, okay, well, if you're Christian, how is Christianity saving your children from the oncoming enslavement? How is your Christianity saving your children from the slave mine programming? How is Christianity protecting you? How is Christianity helping your neighbors? How is Christianity preserving anything? Whereas Islam, it's kind of interesting because
well, it doesn't.
Someone else said this.
It doesn't need to, because God protects us. Who feeds the birds, Andrew? Who feeds the birds? Who feeds the birds? Great question to ask yourself. Is it Islamic people? Is it? No, it's God. Why? Because God takes care of his creation. He is the creator. He's in charge. He takes care of everything, and you put your faith and trust in him. You don't need a religion, or you don't need to fight or defend your God, because your God, that means your God has no war, has no rage, or has no capabilities of defending himself. If the people have to defend him, it's not about the people defending. God is God. God will, he create. Do you know how tiny we are in the eyes of God? Think about that. I mean, Andrew Tate obviously very, very often says he has, he's got kids, he's got probably over 20 and so forth, which is super, super interesting to discuss. But think of how tiny your child is, especially when they're brand new, fresh out the womb, born. Think of how almost insignificant, as in you can literally crush, you can literally just... they're so fragile, like you can't even risk dropping them once, because it could be devastating. That's how fragile they. Now, what I just described is not even a percent, or 0.0001%, or a fraction of who we are in the eyes of God. We are even more delicate and fragile than that. It's like me, little people thinking that, that's why we're trapped in a glass dome. Little people thinking that they're significant, when in the bigger picture, you are nothing to the vast and sheer force and presence of God. So that, guys, I say this to say that, look, we're called to share the truth, but we don't need to fight or defend for God. That's why most of the disciples were, killed, or because they stuck by Christ. Convert. I ain't gonna convert. Maybe they got stoned to death. We know all of this stuff that's taking place in the Bible. Guys, if you're a Christian, by the way, if you agree with me, and if you want to be amongst other Christians or faith-like individuals, link is in the description. Join School Never Taught, SNT. But let me know in the comment section down below. Do you agree with this? Do you not? Are you a Muslim? Where do you stand? This is no shades on anything, but it's just calling things out for what it is, okay? As Christians, we're not called to hate each other or to hate someone else because they're a different religion, but we are called to share the gospel and to share the truth from the Bible. Do you understand? So let me know what you guys think. It would be super, super interesting to read you guys' comments. Seek first the kingdom of God, the rest will be given unto you. And check out this awesome video right there if you enjoyed this video. Peace out. Much love. Bye.